Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. 4:30, March 20th. It's a Monday. The, the dreaded Monday. Actually, my Mondays are pretty wonderful. I hope your Monday is wonderful so far as well. I hope your weekend was wonderful. Good morning, thinker. Consistency is, what did I say about consistency? It's more important than just about anything, being consistent, honestly. Oh, I forgot to put my iPad here so I could actually see what I'm supposed to be painting. I'll be right back. Okay, sorry for wasting your precious time. I apologize. It's important. You guys spend your time with me and I appreciate it. Okay. So where we left off on Saturday was this left eye over here, working on the left eye and trying to slowly expand out into the head of the tiger. As you can see, maybe you can see the cutoff line here. It's actually, when I'm looking on my phone, I can see like here and up on the tiger's head looks really good. Like you got all the contrast, all the colors, and then down below all the dry paint without the oil out that we put on top of it. So that's pretty interesting. And I was working on another painting. Yeah, perseverance, yes. I was working on another painting this week, one that I've had going for a while. I finally got back to it. And it was interesting, Thinker, because you had asked, how long does the oiling out phase last? And there was a couple parts on that painting that I had oiled out a little bit. And I think I did that in December. And it still looked very fresh. And less, it had all the colors and everything to it. So I think it stays. It's almost like a varnish. I wouldn't use it as a varnish, but and I don't know why. I don't know how that would cause issues. Did I consider the slope of the forehead? Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you. I forgot all about it. Didn't think about it. But let's consider it now. So you had said that the one in the reference image is more flat than this one. So, well, I think what you're saying is that the reference image, the back of the head comes forward a bit and it flattens out, and it feels like this one goes back more, like at an angle. Is that correct? Is that what you're pointing out? I think so. That's what I'm kind of seeing. Or maybe it's the angle of the stripes and the hair kind of does more of an arc to the left. Could be the drawing too, because I did cut off a lot of the hair that goes up here with that background. So I'll have to give some thought into that. While we're thinking about that, I'm going to go ahead and mix up my darkest dark. Go ahead and get that going. And this ultramarine is getting really thick. I'm going to add medium to it right away. Oh, exactly the opposite. Okay. So the painting is flat like this, and the digital reference actually goes back. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, thanks for that. That's important because we need to get the semblance of it moving back into space. And I can see what you mean. And I think that the main reason for that is there's, you know, as I'm going through here, I'm kind of softening up textures, and here it's really sharp. The distance between the stripes of the ref get narrow as you go back. Ooh, that too. Yeah, there is some drawing going on. It's got some problems there. So I'm looking at... Yeah, not only that, I feel like I got some things cut off there as well. Let's see. So this is going to be my main kind of point where I measure from. So the point of this stripe, which is probably the biggest stripe in at the top of the head, which comes down this way, its center point could go over just a tiny bit to the left, and its horizontal point, that looks pretty good. But this bottom one needs to come up a bit closer. I think this one needs to come up too. I think I did flatten it out horizontally as well, a bit too much. And then we have a small stripe here, which has gotten too big. And then there's some black stripe back here, which we lost a little bit of, and some of that hair that I went over with the background. Okay, so understood. When we work towards that, I will, yeah, I'll work on it, definitely. Right now I'm going to focus on the nose here, because we got each eye in. Each eye is looking really good. I like the differences between the two. I like how they match in some ways, how they're different in some ways. And then, but I feel right here, all in this nose area, especially the contrast between the nose that isn't in bright sunlight and what is. And I want to figure that out, and maybe go down to the bottom of the nose here and get all of that kind of figured out first. And I will need some of my darkest dark for that, so I'm going to draw this out just a bit. And I'm also going to mix up some lighter tones, our orange tones. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to need a bit more of this paint today. I'm going to start with transparent earth orange. Pull almost all of that in. I'm looking at my iPad, which I finally got, you know, I got the color correction on that. And it's not very intense. And I'm looking at the difference between this is the height of the intensity that I can reach with orange. I put that on here and over here. And as you can see on the oil painting, it doesn't stand out as much. It should. That means that I don't need to go out and buy some fluorescent orange, right? What I need to do is change what's around it to be less saturated. And as I look at the reference, I really see that saturation, the desaturation is there. So transparent earth orange, which is going to be too saturated right out of the tube, which is interesting because if you look at your color wheel, transparent earth orange is right here. It's pretty close to the center of the color wheel, which is, as you remember, everything in the very center is desaturated. Even sap green, which is a very saturated paint. You know, it's at a 2 as far as saturation. I want to check that on the Munsell. Yeah, add teal to the transparent earth orange and probably will desaturate it. Probably would. I mean, it's an orange. Okay, let's look at it. So transparent earth orange is here. What's on the other side of it? Manganese blue, radiant turquoise. You know, teal is around this area, right? So, that, do I have cerulean blue in there? Yeah, cerulean blue's off to the side. I wonder if manganese blue is like the perfect teal. I know I have it here somewhere. I don't use it very often, so it's kind of buried. Oh, that's odd. Maybe I used it all up. I did do a painting with some really bright blues in it not too long ago. So yeah, I think I do not see it, so I think I used it up. All right. Huh. I'll have to try cerulean blue. Let me get just a tiny bit of this cerulean blue because I know the tint strength on cerulean blue, which is ridiculous. Look at that. I mean, I got this little tiny daub of cerulean blue and it just took over all of that transparent earth orange. But I tell you what, it's a gray. It's definitely a warm gray. It's more closer to green now. Might be a good color. I'm gonna put the rest of my transparent earth orange in there. Let's add in a bit of medium to this. It's not too bad. I mean, I don't do this very often where you mix with a palette knife. Not too bad to get into the habit of that sometimes, to kind of get used to using a palette knife for mixtures. Wow, that's kind of like this dark green color. All right. I need more transparent earth orange. I'm almost out of this tube. Luckily, I've already bought another tube, but I want to use this one up. When you get close to the end of a tube, not only is it really hard to squeeze all the paint out, but the paint that's left tends to dry a lot faster. One of the essential tools that I have on my paint cart is this thing. It's a tube ringer, they call it. If you get one of these, make sure you get the metal one. Don't get the cheap plastic ones. You get this metal thing, and it will last you the rest of your life. I've had this for over 10 years now, and it's fantastic. Most of the time, something like that will save you more money than trying to save your paint on your palette every night. Alright. I can mix those together to possibly get something that we want. But I really don't know this color until I add a little bit of white to it, because I'm going to ask the 3 questions. Does it need to be lighter or darker? It needs to be lighter. More saturated, less saturated. I can't tell, so it's probably pretty close. Once I add white to it, it'll desaturate it a little bit more. Does it need to be desaturated? I can't tell. Warmer or cooler? Can't tell as well. So let's add some white to it so we can get an understanding of where it needs to go. I'm going to start down here with the white. And right away, when I put white into this, I'm going to say that it needs more saturation. And I think I'm done with the palette knife for now. We can get to what we want from here. I kind of like all these desaturated colors though. I think this could be very helpful with the rest of our mixtures. And it doesn't look like it on the palette, but that's a lot of paint for me. One thing that I like about the palette knife is it will really force you to make up a lot of paint. Especially when you work as thin as I do. I'm going to put this on here. I know, well, I don't know. I'm pretty sure that this is too gray. But honestly, when I'm putting it on here, I can barely see it. It's a bit dark. It's blending in. It is a bit too gray. I'm going to lighten it up a bit. It's really interesting. I thought this would be further off than it was. This doesn't look like it should belong on an orange tiger at all. Yeah, it needs a little bit more color to it. A little bit more of our transparent earth orange. And I'm going to lighten it up just a bit as well. Okay. That's not too bad for the top of the nose, which is getting a lot of light. Let's see how we can turn that over. And the one thing I dislike is when you start mixing up a bunch of paint on your palette within your brush, right on the kind of, you know, close to the base of the brush, the bristles get thick with paint. And I don't like it when it's like that. It's probably because I press too hard when I'm mixing, rather than kind of lightly moving the tip of the brush over these mixtures. And it brings too much paint too deep into the bristles. The reason why I don't like that is because it kind of prevents you from shaping your brush the way you need to make the strokes that you need. You know, that's kind of something I've never really talked about. I've kind of hinted at it. For really exact lines, you know, I'll flatten out my brush here as I'm mixing the paint so that I can get those lines. But part of this is shaping your brush so that you get the lines that you want. You get the marks that you want. It's not really about, you know, picking a very specific brush. I mean, that's part of it. I mean, there's all kinds of different brushes out there. There's your normal flat, filbert, bright, round brushes. But then they have cat tongues, which I don't know why I'm not using a cat tongue on a painting of a cat. Right? I don't have any. I don't ever use them. There's cat tongues. There's ones they call daggers. There's all kinds of different shaped brushes that could help you with, you know, specific ways to paint. But in a lot of instances, what'll happen is your brush will change shape as you paint, especially bristle brushes. For bristle brushes, they will wear down a lot faster than you think. I have several larger bristle brushes over here where I kept painting on the same side, because you're never, like, when you're painting, you're never directly on, you know, like 90 degrees. Your brush is never positioned 90 degrees against the canvas. Usually you're kind of down here or up here. It's at a tilted angle. And I have this habit of doing this, you know, the same side of the brush all the time. And I'll be wearing down just one side of that brush, and it creates this kind of interesting angle to the brush. It looks more like kind of a dagger brush. I can't tell, is it an optical illusion, but it looks to me that the nose and oil looks longer than the reference nose. Ooh. Let's see. So I'll do a physical measurement. I'm pretty certain. So we gotta start with something that we know. And I'm pretty certain that the pupils are spaced apart exactly the same as they are on my reference. So let's say there's the space between pupils. And then what I can do is I could look at the right pupil and I could say, okay, the top of the nose, this line in the nose here, is about 3/4 or a little bit more down. So I'm going to do the same thing on the reference. The digital reference, which I have to be careful not to touch because it'll move it around. There's the width. And then the height. You're not looking at it because I'm doing it on my iPad. But yeah, it's the same. From those physical measurements, it looks the same to me. And that's not as accurate as if I took, like, you know, I take pictures of this every day, and then I flatten it out because it'll have a perspective to it. And I've showed you in the, when we were checking the drawing, I showed you how to fix perspective issues when you take a picture of your work in Lightroom. And I could take a picture of this, do that same thing, and then compare it against like an overlay in Krita, and compare it against the exact painting against the reference. And I could find a lot of errors and issues that way. I do that sometimes, and I mainly do it when I'm looking at the painting and I say, you know, something's not right with the drawing. If I find myself in that boat, like there's something wrong with the drawing, but I can't tell what, I'll do that comparison. So the possibility is there. You don't have to do it just with drawing. And you can do it multiple times throughout your painting. You could do it after every painting session, but that could be a bit too much, honestly. So what I am going to do, this is very gray down here. I'm going to bring in up here, I'm going to mix up some transparent earth orange with some alizarin permanent. Oof, that went to a very cool red color. I'm going to add some yellow to it to bring it closer to orange. So this is going to be my intense color. I want just a little bit of that so I can kind of pop it in places. Mix it up just a little bit with what I have. Maybe it's because there is a definite line on the top of the pink part of the nose and the oil nose. Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, it could be the placement of this bright light here. It could be the value differences between the rest of the nose. There could be a lot of reasons why that's looking that way. I've found that, I mean, you can get the drawing perfectly on, like the linear aspects of whatever you're painting is dead on, but it would still not look right if you don't have the form described well. So the transition from light to dark described well. Within a lot of very subtle faces, like women's faces, which have a very, well, not just women's faces that have a very subtle transition to them. They're not so geometric. You will find that the drawing is essential, but it must pair perfectly or work perfectly with how you build the form as well. Ooh, that's very blue. Let's add more umber to it. There we go. There's a gray that I'm looking for. Always remember that your burnt umber is an orange. Okay, it's an orangish color. Once you know that, you can see what it's going to do with blue. Orange is the complementary to blue, therefore it will neutralize blue. This needs to come up further and lighten up a bit. I'm getting in the habit of painting over these stripes a little bit, really softening their edges. Because they're a combination of hair follicles, you'll have, well, from what I've observed on this tiger, and I need to make up my super bright orange color. The sunlight coming in right there. What you'll have with these hair follicles is a chain, like the bottom ones down here will go over the stripe. It's like some of these orange hairs will grow a little bit longer. I'm getting kind of opaque right here. Okay. You know what's interesting is whenever you see something incorrect on your painting, there's always going to be at least 2 ways to correct it. And you always got to think about, well, not always, but always try and keep in mind that you have 2 ways of correcting something. Too often when we see something incorrect, we go for the first idea that we have. For example, you know, this is not bright enough. So I add more white to it, and I get to a point where I'm just adding nothing but white to it. Or the opposite of that was, this is not dark enough, so I get to a point where I'm getting black on my, you know, ivory black tube out, and I'm putting that on my canvas. I'm exhausting my range of paints. When the opposite of that is to think about what's around it and either lighten or darken that up. Such as drawing, you know. Maybe the height of a head is maybe it looks squashed in some way, or it looks too long. Maybe this tiger looks too tall, right? Well, maybe the width isn't broad enough, because that will change it too. So you kind of have to think in both ways. Like, okay, which one would be the easiest to fix it, and the best way? Sometimes you just go with the easiest. I could repaint the whole tiger, or I could shorten that head up just a little bit. Yeah, it's kind of obvious what to pick there. Half an hour in already. Holy cow. I always have my watch. It will buzz every 30 minutes. The reason why it buzzes is because I'm supposed to get up and move around. But when I'm in the cockpit of a live stream, I don't like getting up and moving around. It's important for me to keep healthy that way. I do it when I'm not live. And usually right after this live stream, I do my workout, so. Which I've missed it the past few days that we've had our live stream because I've gone way over, so. And if I miss my workout too much, my back starts hurting more. So today I'm going to try and stay with the time frame. So in a half an hour, I'm going to shut it down. That'll make sure that I am able to get my workout in. It's so important. Got to keep moving. And this center stripe, I talked about it, Thinker, when you had pointed this out. And I want to raise that up. I want it to be more of an arc. So I need to bring in some colors over it. This lightish color. Bring in some of that orange, intense orange in a place or two. I don't know if you can tell. Actually, I'm pretty far zoomed out. Let's zoom in on this. So this little piece right here, I put some yellow over top of a black. It does not look good at all. I mean, it looks really hazy, honestly. And when you're glazing, when you're putting paint over other paint, basically, and the paint that you put on top has a transparency to it, and when you go from a darker color to a lighter color, you'll get this kind of hazy look to it. The fix to that is you need to saturate your color a bit more. Stay a little bit away from white as much as you can, and then try and saturate. And then I'll usually bring it back. There's a good possibility that I will be doing another glaze layer over this whole tiger. The good thing about it is each subsequent glazing layer takes a lot less longer to do because you have less and less to adjust because of the previous layers. I keep wanting to saturate this a bit more. These gray colors down here. But I have to remember, if I continually saturate that, all of the places where I want the saturation to show, it just won't happen. It won't look saturated. You have to think about it in life, like how color temperature works. The lighter areas will be closer to a white color, and they will inherently be more desaturated. Whereas as you go into your halftones and your core shadow, and then into shadow, you'll get more and more saturation. But the issue that I'm running into right now is I'm adding these lighter tones on top of darker tones. And I want to stay away from this really hazy look. So I'm saturating it just a little bit more to kind of prevent that. Or to try and prevent it. Yeah, I'm not liking this yellow here. I need to fix that. This area, it's kind of like the brow meeting the nose. I'm going to darken up this so we kind of get a little bit of an idea of how it turns down to the nose. The nose doesn't turn down so much like on human heads where you have a larger divot here. But for tiger heads, it's a bit more flat. There is some turn down there, but it's not as extreme as on human faces. And I'm also doing that because that's what I see on our reference. You know, I spent a lot of time working on that reference. We all looked at what was working and what wasn't working. And I'm going to trust that. So I hope you can see this. I don't think it translates well through, I mean, it loses a lot of clarity once it goes through the stream. But there's, you know, as I build up in these glazes, there's so much kind of texture and interest in these little small areas. I really love that. I feel like you can get lost in it, honestly. I'm gonna bring in some really brighter colors over here. It's brighter, but Still in a grayish tone. Need more medium in that. I'm always looking at, you know, how much of what I've already done is showing through what I put down here. And if not enough of it is showing through, I'm going to add more medium to my paint so that I can get those textures to come through. That's a personal preference. It's more, you know, I want tons of texture in my work. As long as it's it makes sense with what we're trying to describe as well. Will the haziness go away when you reestablish the black stripe? Yeah, in some places. I think within these, I may... Yeah, I'm not going to touch those very much. I'll probably lighten up the hairs in between the black stripes, if anything. And that will pop those out. See, again, it's this idea of which way to go. Reestablish the black stripes or lighten up what's around them. And I think the better way to go on here is to lighten up what's around them. And now that I'm looking at that, it does need to get a little bit lighter. I guess to kind of break that down into more simplistic terms is think about the negative and positive, at least in that situation. You know, there's always two sides to everything. Light and dark, saturated, desaturated, thin, thick, tall, wide. And figuring out which one you need to change is the fun part. All right, I'm gonna try something different here. I'm gonna go a little bit extreme in the lighter colors on this nose. I keep feeling that it needs to be lightened up a lot more. That is competing with the sunlight on the nose, so not that light. So what I can do is I can lightly kind of move that around. I pulled most of it off with my finger. And I don't think I lightened it up enough. It's definitely gray enough here. I think that's the important part about what I'm doing right here, is playing with those gray tones. Really working those gray tones. I'm also looking at the drawing a lot, and how do I do that? I compare with what's around it. So I just asked in my head, I'm like, is this part of that, you know, shock of sunlight down far enough? Well, if I draw a horizontal line over here, you know, straight horizontal, it'll match, you know, right with, you know, this kind of stripe that's there, and on my reference, it's doing the same, or close to it. So yeah, it's in the right place. So in my head, I will constantly be drawing these vertical and horizontal lines to check drawing on things. And you know, you're just triangulating, you're comparing with what's down there. There's so much of what an artist does that's in their head. I mean, years of this, you know, with no live streams and just doing it yourself, it kind of it becomes inherent. You just do these things. What's nice about doing this live stream, which I enjoy and hopefully you guys enjoy, is it really forces me to think, to speak out loud what I'm thinking about. And through that, I get a better understanding of why I paint the way I do. Hey, good morning, Ashton. No school today, or is it before school? Like you're getting ready for school? Yeah, I'm getting ready for class. I asked you before you said it, sorry. Called it. Hope you had a wonderful weekend. Okay. It's interesting how even on the reference, it's very desaturated on the top of the nose, and then the saturate as it gets darker on the side of the nose, we get more saturated color. Playing with those saturations as you go from light to dark is really important. I'm going to back it out again. Oops. There we go. But you can see the whole thing so far. I super wanted to sleep in, but I won't do that. LOL. Yeah. There's a wonderful book by Mel Robbins. I think it's Mel Robbins. Ooh, my transparent earth orange decided to kill itself and drop off my painting, or my palette, or at least try to. There's a wonderful book by Mel Robbins. I'm trying to remember what the name of it is. I think it's something like the 5-second countdown. And she points out in her book, like this exact thing where we're in bed and we're like, oh my gosh, just a few minutes of more sleep, right? And she started this thing that became really powerful for her. Is she gets in those modes and then she does a countdown, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, blast off, and then she just jumps out of bed. And it's a really wonderful way to build willpower. The other way is to plan so you don't have to rely upon your willpower. Like if you're on a diet, bring your lunch. That way you're not tempted to go out to lunch, these kind of things. Don't, they say buy your willpower at the grocery store. Don't bring home chips that you're not supposed to eat, or ice cream that you're not supposed to eat, and then try and avoid it all week, right? For sleep, just stay in bed a lot longer, or go to bed earlier. Sorry, not stay in bed a lot longer, but go to bed earlier. So that you get enough sleep. That's me. My sleep, my restfulness, because I have an Aura ring, which really gives me a lot of cool data on my sleep. My restfulness sucks, so I have to go to bed and be in bed for 10 hours to get enough sleep. If I'm at 80% sleep efficiency, it's like absolutely fantastic for me. And after I got an understanding of sleep and how important it is for everybody, and I got rid of the stupid kind of macho idea that you see passed around everywhere, where getting less sleep or not enough sleep is kind of a badge of honor, which is complete and utter BS, because sleep is the foundation of all your health. If you don't believe me, read the book Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. Foremost researcher in sleep. He's been doing it for 3 decades now. And he knows everything about sleep. He is the person to go to. It's really interesting. Anyway, off topic there. Yeah, that's me. Every morning I don't really give myself time to wake. I just jump out of bed and start making my bed immediately. Oh, that's really good, because I know I won't lay back down if I make up my bed. Yeah, that's a great idea. Not only that, like, you make up your bed and like you accomplished something positive as soon as you get up in the morning. I mean, that's fantastic. There's a retired Army captain or Navy captain. I forget his name. Oh. And he's got a book called Make Your Bed, I think. Man, I can't remember the name of that, so don't quote me on it. But it's this idea of building up, confidence and willpower through these little small actions that you take. And the one thing that he says is always make up your bed as soon as you get up in the morning. Even if the rest of your day just goes terribly, at least you were able to, really get up and out of bed and do that. Start the day winning. So, good on you. Good job. That sounded like I was from Australia. Good on you, mate. Okay, still working around in this, adding those, and actually that worked really well. If I looked at the painting, from Saturday when I took a picture of it, and today, I would say that this orange shock of sunlight that's coming down really is standing out now. I may go back in after all this area is dry and add in some more of that. See if I can get that glow within it. One thing I would always, I'm really interested in kind of perfecting, or figuring out at least, is there's this really awesome mode in digital painting software. It's called color dodge. And I'm sorry, I mean, I know it's probably like a meme or something, like, oh, color dodge, everybody uses it, but it looks really cool. It looks really good, especially when you got bright sunlight and how it kind of has this glow to it. And you can do it with one stroke, in digital. But I want to see how I could replicate that method within traditional oil paint. Something I'll work on eventually. Okay. That's looking pretty good. I'm going to take some of this lighter color that I'm dealing with, and I'm going to bring it all the way up here as well. I want those darker stripes to stand out a bit more. So I'm really going to throw a big chunk of that down. Remember, we're painting hair. Hair has a particular texture to it. You're not painting the side of a wall. You're painting hair, so you have to use brush strokes that will describe the hair. Always think about the texture of the object that you're painting. In Richard Schmidt's book, Alla Prima, he talks about, this kind of idea of being a zombie and kind of licking the canvas, he calls it. Where you could see a person is not really thinking about what they're doing. Maybe they're thinking about, the groceries they need to pick up, or, whatever they're thinking about. They're not really focusing on the painting, and they're just kind of going daub, 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 daub. You're not really there. Recognize when you're in that mode, and kind of try and get out of it. Like, just kind of stop, see where you're at. And the best way I've seen to do that is to think about the texture of the object that you're actually painting. It doesn't mean that you won't stop, you know, quote unquote, licking the canvas with all these little strokes. It's a mindset change. That's important. And if you want to change the world around you, the easiest way is to change your mind. Change how you think about something. My wife's reading a book called, oh, I didn't think about it like that. Or I never thought of it like that, or something. And it was really interesting, you know, having these hard conversations in divisive times, I think is the subtitle of the book. I love the idea of kind of stepping away from this one way of thinking and challenge your own thinking and really listen to someone that you don't agree with at all and try and come from, you know, their perspective. And I am reestablishing the dark colors in this just a tiny bit in these little stripes. Alright, so what do you guys think? Looking pretty good? Taking too long? Not going fast enough, Chris? Is it getting boring? I'm about to shut it down here in a few minutes. Any questions? Anything that you guys are working on that you need help with? Any videos, long-form videos that you want to see? You know, things that maybe I'm not covering. Something that you're having trouble with your own artwork. I would love to get some ideas from you, especially everyone that shows up on this stream. I would like to help you out as much as I can. Oh yeah, I saw that, Ashton. Thank you. Thanks for reminding me. I wanted to tell you thank you when I saw you again. Yeah, thank you so much for buying that. I appreciate it. No, it's all good. I'm pretty sure you purchased the nose tutorial. It's a good one. Honestly, the ears that I painted, I'm more happy with the ears. What I liked about the nose painting is I had all these different, skin types within the noses. And the mouth as well. I think I did. I intentionally did that with all of them, I believe, if I can remember correctly. The eyes, no, except for the eyes. The eyes was all from one model. But it's a good one. You'll see this entire process go by, that I'm using right now. It will go by a lot faster on that because smaller painting. But thank you so much for buying that. And if you see, as you're watching it, when you have time to watch it, if you see anything that you're not clear on or you want me to expound upon, shoot me a message, shoot me an email. I'll be sending you an email soon with my personal email. And then you can reply to that if you want. Yeah, I reply to everyone that purchases, well, actually just about anyone with my personal email. Hopefully it becomes a problem in the future. Like I have so many people that, you know, like what I do and keep trying to contact me that, you know, I have to, I'll have trouble managing it all. I hope that becomes an issue. That'd be a good issue to have. Okay, before I stop, I want to establish these lighter. So the local color up here is white, the white fur. So I'm establishing a lot of that all the way up in this area. Ooh, and I see an amazing magenta right in there. It gives me an idea. Oh yeah, I hope it really helps you with the painting class that you'll take in the future. Give you kind of a head start on that. That would be great. You have to come back here and let us know how it's going and any questions you have or things like that. Yeah, I'd love to use you guys, or not really use you guys, but help you guys by, you know, if you ask questions of like, hey, I'm really stuck on, you know, this issue. You know, I could answer it in the live stream, or which I'd probably do is create a whole video on it as well. Because any question that you have, I'm sure a lot of other artists would have the same question. And being able to help, you know, a ton of people at once is fantastic. All right, before I close for the day, I'm gonna jump into straight alizarin permanent, and I'm out of medium, just about, but it's a transparent paint anyways. Light it up a bit. I see this awesome, like really bright magenta right here. I'm gonna add that in, and maybe take it in some other places as well. I love these little like crazy bits of color that are everywhere. You know, in our digital painting. I remember at one point when we, wrong place. That's the problem there, is you have to make sure that you put it down in the right place. Dexterity, that's important. Put it on with a shovel, but make sure it goes in the right place. I remember when we were doing the digital painting, I said, oh wow, I love all these like bits and pieces of super bright color everywhere. I want to make sure that I bring those into the painting, the oil painting. And you can, you just have to make sure that you put these colors where the value matches. So if I can go into this super, just like straight alizarin permanent here, and then if let's say I go over here in this darker area, because it's a darker value, straight alizarin permanent, it works right there. You know, next to all of these stripes, I can throw it in. I mean, it's so bright and luscious, but it's not, you know, out of place. Way out of place, yeah. Just kind of throwing it everywhere right now, just to see. This is the fun part. You know, and some of this will get covered up as I work through. Some of it won't. But, you know, it won't do if I don't also do the same with some teal somewhere. Ooh, that is, look how bright that is. I mean, that's crazy. Like, this does not, this color only exists in like the most crazy of flowers, right? But where's the value at? Probably around in here somewhere. That's a bit lighter. There you go. I could put it there. Over here. In these shadow areas. Oh, that gets a bit extreme up there. Let's knock it down with just a finger smudge. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that teal is a bit crazy. Like, wow, look at that over there. That's a bit too crazy. I'm gonna bring that down some. Love it. Coming along very nicely. Now go exercise. Yeah. Well, I'm about to head out for my 8 a.m. class. Have a good day, everyone. Yeah, have a great day at class, Ashton. Have a wonderful rest of your day, Thinker. You're right. I'm going to get to exercising. Thank you, guys, for keeping me on time. I appreciate it. And I will see you at the same time tomorrow.